So I wanted to ask you about how to use mindfulness in your daily routines, and what exactly is mindfulness? I think of it as meditation, or is it more like focus? Being present is how I think of it. But could you define that a little better and
Sure.
show how you use
Yeah,
it in your day-to-day?
absolutely. So you kind of hit on a sweet spot for me there. So firstly, that understanding what mindfulness is, it kind of can mean different things to different people, and everyone takes it personally, and some people don't get it at all. But the idea of presence, awareness, knowing what's going on inside your head, and also knowing what's going on in the outside world as well, is really valuable. And the whole idea of mindfulness is to be able to take control of what's happening in your mind and be able to then use that to be more effective in your day-to-day life. So it's not, while some people find it spiritual, it's not, to me, it's not particularly spiritual. It's very, very practical. It's very much, and it's very based in science. And again, that idea of being able to become more effective, more productive in your day-to-day. And that's at work, when you're playing, when you're doing sports, when you're exercising, when you're in a meeting, when you're with relatives and friends, when you're with loved ones, being more aware of what's going on, being present, and making those relationships better. So, for instance, we've had this meeting set for 8 o'clock. So I'm up at 6:30 this morning so that I've got enough time to do all my morning routine, which includes the mindfulness, in order to be ready for this meeting. So it's kind of an early start for me. But my mindfulness, my regular daily mindfulness, is kind of simple, and in a way it's in 3 sections as part of my morning routine. So I start off when I get up, and I will do just a very simple 5-minute guided meditation. And honestly, what I'm finding at the moment with that is that I'm a little bit busy in my head when I do that, so I'm not 100% focused. But I do 5 minutes of a guided meditation. After that, I go straight into another 5 minutes, and that's a breathing exercise. And I have this app on my phone that just guides me through a breathing cycle that is 4 seconds of an inhalation, 7 seconds holding that, 8 seconds of an exhalation, and then it's actually 11 seconds holding that exhaled position, which is quite tough. That's actually...
I've heard of 4-7-8, but never the 11 part of that.
Yeah, well, I kind of added the 11 on myself. It makes it into a 30-second cycle, and then I do 10 of those, and it's a 5-minute cycle. And I don't know whether the 11 seconds it's not scientific. I just invented it, and it makes it up to the 30 seconds, but it kind of gives a little bit more focus. That's actually it's quite strenuous, certainly when you first start it. And it helps me to really focus on that. So I find the breathing exercise, I'm more mindful of that because I have to concentrate a little bit more. So I'm really focused on the breath, and that makes all those busy thoughts that I've had, they just kind of fade away, which is really, really nice. And then the final part of my mindfulness routine is I jump into a kind of a series of stretches and physical exercises that I do. And some of them are yoga positions, and some of them are just general big muscle stretches. And I take about 8 minutes to do that. And again, because I have to focus on that and remember the routine that I do, I find that really mindful as well. So there are 3 elements to my mindfulness routine. There's the actual mindfulness meditation that I do, then the breathing, and then the physical stretching.
And would you find any particular guided meditation might work for this? Or I know they can be on different themes, different topics. So is there anything you can recommend for the guided meditation you do?
There are a million different kinds. This one that I found at the moment, actually, let me go back. What I started with was, when I was first introduced to meditation, was a series of meditations by Mark Williams and Danny Penman, who wrote a book, and they had an accompanying CD. Those you could find those meditations now on YouTube if you just Google Danny Penn,
Okay.
Mark Williams
So we
meditation.
can put a link in wherever we post this down in the descriptions. I guess we can
You
get
find those. Those are really effective. There's a series of different ones, and maybe about 8 or 9 of those that I really liked when I started. They tend to be a little bit longer, between 8 and 15 minutes long, and which is a perfect time and a great way to start. I did those, a couple of those. There's one that's called Breath and Body, one that's called Body and Breath, and the emphasis is slightly different. And I did those, varied those for many, many years, actually, for the first 3 or 4 years of my practice. And they also have a body scan as well, which is quite common as well. Those are really great to get started. The one I found at the moment is called a tension release meditation. And I actually found it within the Alexa app that I use to prompt that meditation. So there's an app on Alexa called Mindful Meditation, and you say open Mindful Meditation and it will prompt, and it has maybe 4 or 5 different meditations. This is the 5-minute one that I use.
And so you might reckon that there isn't a wrong one to do, as long as it focuses you on whatever that guided meditation wants to focus you on. You're not going to pick a wrong one to do this.
Here's the thing, the whole thing about mindfulness and meditation is there is no wrong way to do it. That's what people get concerned about, is they think, oh, I didn't do very well there. So they just give up and say, I'm no good at meditation. I actually hear that all the time. And it's a real shame, because there is no wrong way. Just even trying it is a success. And if your mind is busy and you find you drift away, I hear people who say that I just fall asleep when I do it. So it's not good for me. And
well, then you needed to sleep.
yeah, you know what? I fell asleep the first couple of times I did it as well, and actually had to be woken up. That's part of the process.
Yeah, it's that point you made, that there isn't a wrong way to do it, is exactly my own journey with meditation. I tried it years ago, couldn't do it. I couldn't focus, couldn't sit still. It's too aches and pains or whatever, and I thought, I'm doing it wrong. It doesn't work. And then there was this TED talk, TEDx Venice Beach, I think it was. And the guy was talking about there's no wrong way to do it. And I link that talk now to anyone who I'm recommending to start meditation. And it just got me past that doing it wrong idea into a habit of it. And I noticed now, after a couple of years, say, I am more focused. And when I don't do it for a week or 2, I do lose focus and become more reactive to things. Or it's been a great practice to get into. I use the 478 as well, actually.
Yeah.
Not for the whole time.
We should definitely link up that TED talk in the notes as well. And again, so your experience has been not dissimilar to mine, and it's now, like you say, you miss it when it's not there. And in a certain way, I kind of find that I miss it. I'm not even conscious of what I'm doing when I'm living my daily life. So the whole idea of this, as I said, is you become more effective, more productive, better in your relationships, better able to listen, and which is important as part of my career as well. The listening is crucial. But because I've done this 5-6 years now of regular meditation, it's there, and it's already wired into my brain. So it's become a habit. It's become unconscious competence, if you like,
yeah.
being able to switch to awareness. So
to bring it home, it's not mindfulness to focus you at work or during your work. It's not something you do while you're at work. It's a muscle, if you like, that you've trained daily for years. In your case, in the morning. Doesn't have to be in the morning. In my case, it's in the morning as well. It seems to be a good time to do it, but it's just a habit you've trained, that when your mind moves to something else, you say, no, I'm working right now, or no, I'm breathing right now. When you just bring it back to center, and that's
exactly it. And in a way, that's kind of a way where you get to when you've committed to the practice for a certain amount of time. I can certainly recall, and I don't mind talking about this, about the time where near the end of my accounting career, and things were starting to get on top of me, and I was stressed, and I was approaching was approaching burnout as it happens. And part of that process, what I'd started to do, I'd been introduced to meditation, and I would actually take a break in the middle of my morning and in the middle of my afternoon, and actually put on my headphones, sat at my desk just exactly like I am now, and put on one of those Mark Williams, Danny Penman meditations and just sit at my desk. And I think people would walk by and they would wonder what on earth I was doing. But I was really determined to get this integrated into my life. And at that point, it was the early stages, so it wasn't there. So that was why I was feeling the stress and getting those moments of tension that I struggled with back then. And so I knew that this meditation was going to help, even though I found out it wasn't internalized and fully embedded within me yet as a habit. So I like I said, I set an alarm mid-morning, mid-afternoon, and stop what I was doing, whatever I was doing, stop what I was doing and do that meditation. So that was part of my journey. And at that early time, I had to force it in. And that's what people have to do. And they feel, oh, this should be natural, so I shouldn't need to force it in. But in the beginning, like any habit you're trying to think or any skill you're trying to learn, you have to force yourself to practice in those early days.
Yeah. So it's good for a recharge during the day as well. It needn't even be the full 5 minutes, but like 1 minute of breathing can be hugely calming.
Absolutely. There is, as we'll say again, there's no wrong way of doing it.
Yeah, it's your own journey, I guess. All right. Well, that was thanks for the great information on mindfulness there.